Hello, workmates. Welcome to Work and Talk in PH, your go to podcast for lifestyle insights, career convos, and real estate realness, where chill convos meet real life lessons because it works.
I'm Mary Chris, and today's episode is especially close to home, literally and figuratively. Our guest today is someone who made a very intentional choice to stay rooted in the Philippines and in the province while thriving in a major leadership role. He's a finance and legal practitioner and part of the leadership team of iQor, one of the biggest BPO players in the Philippines with a strong footprint outside Metro Manila. Let's all welcome Attorney Wilbur Gadicho. So good afternoon, Attorney Wilbur. Welcome to Work in PH. Thank you for squeezing us in your busy schedule. We're excited to hear from you, and our audience is very excited to hear from you on really, what made you stay in the Philippines, what made you believe in the countryside, on even if there's no proof of concept in the countryside, why you really believe in pushing opportunities in the countryside, sir.
Good. I think it resonates very well to me, no? And thank you for having me. I'm not sure if you're aware, I did my college abroad. If you finish, studies
Yes, and
abroad,
what made you come
you
back, sir? Normally, if you study
exactly right.
abroad, you get your
People would
internship
tend to
abroad
stay, right?
and never come back home, sir.
Exactly right. So I did my college in Japan and on a
Oh,
scholarship, no, and I had some opportunities to stay or either go to the US for further studies. But really, my heart is in the Philippines. My wife is a nurse, and so it's easy for us to just say, you know what, let's just go to the US, to the UK, and start a life there. But we both believe that life is in the Philippines. I mean,
how do you do
there's
that, Attorney Wilbur? Were there times ang hirap talaga mahalin ng bansa natin, sir?
don't even get me started there.
So you need to,
I'm
sir,
very
inspire us. How do you get your nationalism vitamins on days where, it's very challenging for us
yeah.
Filipinos, sir?
And as you mentioned it, every time we have friends who would see us traveling, the question is always, why come home? You guys can find a
Yes,
way
yes,
to
with
stay,
your
right?
expertise, you're a nurse, and being a lawyer,
Y-
your professions are so in
yeah, and
demand everywhere,
you
sir.
know, yeah, and 20 years in HR, I thought it was. I know people would say, it's just saying it because it's nice to say it that in HR you create jobs, right? But really being here for 20 years, I've seen people who do not have opportunities abroad try to make a living in the Philippines, and it's a shame for leaders like us to just jump ship and say, okay, I'm done with Philippines, right? But
Yes, sir.
because this is our home. I mean, I tell my kids this is definitely where we will retire. This is definitely where we will my mom and I will grow old. So it's just reminding us every day that Philippines offered us sort of the first chance because we were born here. And why leave just because you have opportunities abroad? Opportunities are also in the Philippines. I think that's a very important message.
Is it because of your foundation, sir, in school where you have a solid sense of national pride, Attorney Wilbur?
Well, maybe. I started involving myself in politics at the age of 15 years old.
Oh, so sir, since
Um, yeah, high school. And when I was 17 years old, I still could not vote in the national election. I was very much involved in the local politics in Eastern Samar. And I think over the years, you get to love what people typically hate about Philippines, right? The politics is dirty. You'll end up questioning whether the government is doing enough for the people. But at the end of the day, I always think that it's more than what the government can do. Private institutions also have responsibility, right? It's
yes,
just a
sir.
shame that, um, and I think I mentioned this in several of the conversations I had when we were in Bacolod, that sometimes I I feel bad that when I visit some other places, there's opportunities, but when I go home, we're sort of being left behind. But again, it will not stop us from sort
Yes.
of connecting with people like you and my entire network to see how we can go to Eastern Samar and see that there's actually opportunities also.
And then, sir, for talking about the countryside, what do you think really is the potential of countryside here in the Philippines, sir?
Well, in the countryside, first and foremost, there's very less,
Mm,
right? You start a career in the countryside, chances are you will probably grow in career and enroll faster
master, that's correct,
than
sir.
being in metro, right? And I think one of the greatest, I think, things that I really love being in the countryside is the ability to still connect with family.
Yes, sir.
If I used to start working in Manila, and my wife and I decided, you know what, let's try it out. Let's in the provinces. I get to compare that when you work in the city, 3 hours, 4 hours is taken from you just because of commute, and
Correct,
that's
sir.
valuable time for your family. And in my time now in career, I always value the dinner time with my family. And
Yes,
I seldom, do it when I was working in Metro Manila, because by the time I get home, the kids are asleep. Um,
yes,
by the time I leave our house, they probably also are scrambling to go to school or maybe still asleep.
yes, yes.
So it's in the province, and that's one of the offerings that we really have in iQor. Like, you get to work in a place 10, 15 minutes away from home. You go home, you get to see your family, your kids, and still get, quality time and be able
That's
to rest.
really the quality of life, sir,
Yes,
that you have in the provinces where you have opportunities and you're correct, less
exactly.
competition. You just work hard. You can climb up the corporate ladder faster, and
Yep.
quality of life, no traffic, and being able to have time for your family, for passion projects, and that you can't do in Metro Manila,
Oh
Attorney
yes.
Wilbur.
Oh yes. 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 Definitely. I
And
mean, in Metro Manila, and I see this every day, right? People who would come to Asia and say, I'd like to try it out in Manila, a potential attrition, right? And usually our selling point is, yes, you might get a higher pay in Metro Manila, but all of that goes to your expenses.
that's correct,
Right?
sir.
Transportation, rent, food. Food is expensive in Manila, right?
Yes,
You
sir.
can get a lunch pack in the provinces for what, 60, 70 pesos. I mean, you'll have difficulty finding that in Metro Manila. Of course, you still can find, but it's a different quality, right? So, as opposed to seeing a nice, bigger net take home pay versus what you really are actually bringing home, provinces will always win over Metro Manila.
And how do you continue to engage like the people in the provinces compared to your engagement programs, sir, in Metro Manila? Is it different or the same, sir?
Well, we have, at least in iCourt today, we only have one presence in Metro Manila.
Oh, that's our
We have
95%
a
are
we
in
have
the provinces, sir.
95% is in the provinces, right? We only have a very very short presence in Metro Manila, in Fairview and Quezon City. But there's really not much difference. And now if I compare that with my previous companies where we operated mainly in Metro Manila area,
Yes, sir.
I think what's distinct in provinces is the value for family. I used to work for a BPO maybe 15 years ago, where the way we would package our value proposition to employees is that before you can even leave, you talk to your wife, you talk to your kids, right?
Yes,
You tell
yes.
them like, look, this is not for me. I want to move. But usually they would stop from resigning because their families would say, why are you leaving? So it's the family, right? That's connection with family is very important in the provinces. And as I've said earlier, you don't have to spend so much, right? To just establish and strengthen that family bond, because the more they see you, the more they feel happy about you working in that
Yes.
particular company that is located in the province. And that's not expensive. I mean, it's very easy to drive. It resonates very well to many, if not most of the employees.
I think, sir, we need to really debunk the notion when we always hear nasa Maynila ang opportunities. Oh,
Oh
it's
yeah.
not the Manila opportunities, sir.
Well, it's true, right? I'm not discounting the fact that there's still a lot of opportunities in Metro Manila. It's not gonna go away, right? But if you look at the trend, 25 years ago, it's mostly Manila and Cebu. But look at what's happening now. You go home, if you go home to Bacolod. If you're from
Correct, sir.
Iloilo, go home to Iloilo. If you're from Davao, go home to Iloilo.
Now,
Davao,
Bohol,
you'll
sir.
still get a job,
Yes,
right?
sir.
And quality job.
and you can save more and you can do more with your time, sir. And I think that's the most important aspect really is, time for your family, time for passion projects, and being happy,
Yeah.
better quality of air.
Yes, of course.
And then, sir, let's take it a step further. If you can also share with us in inclusivity. I know it's more awareness now in the Philippines, but in your opinion, sir, are companies really doing enough in terms of giving opportunities to the differently abled, um, and giving them the same benefits as everyone, sir?
Yeah, there's a little bit trick on inclusivity, particularly to differently abled employees, right? On one hand, employers would tend to be guarded and do not want to talk about it openly because they don't want to be construed and perceived by people that, oh, maybe you're using that as a marketing agenda, maybe you just want to appear good in public. But on the other hand, employers also want to make sure that they talk about it openly because they truly believe in the inclusivity. So I guess the formula there is that just be genuine. In iQor and even in most of the companies I've been with, we don't necessarily roll out marketing ads that we are
I
hiring
agree.
differently abled, right? Because if you start doing that, should I also start putting ads that, oh, I'm hiring women, I'm hiring,
That's correct, sir.
people from the provinces, I'm hiring indigenous people. Of course, it's not, the list is just going to be
Long.
going on and on and on, right?
Yes, sir.
So just be genuine. So, in other words, we don't even want to look at a candidate, whether the candidate is differently abled or not, because everyone's welcome. I mean, at times, even at to fault, right? Sometimes we get to hire people who are already 72 years old and realizing that, oops, this guy is already a pensioner in SSS, and we sort of try to just figure out what to do with those employees, right? And
Yes.
similarly, for as long as you have skills, regardless of whether you are differently abled or not, you are welcome. And in 2023, we officially joined the PBDN, the Philippine Business Disability Network. And
Mhm.
part of that commitment really is that we will encourage join community activities that
Mhm.
are pushing for more inclusive workplaces.
Some people say like some companies they do it just for show, having this exclusivity program. But in iQor, are there regular check-ins in place to ensure that their needs are being met and accommodations remain effective, sir?
Oh, yes, yes. So, well, one critical piece is compliance. There are rules, right, that employers must follow, like accessibility of the office floors, for example. If you are occupying a higher floors in the building,
Mm-hmm.
definitely there should be elevators, access to ramps, comfort rooms that are accessible to differently abled employees. That's compliance, right?
Yes, sir.
And to us, it's non-negotiable. And people might argue that you're just complying because it's a regulation.
Yes, yes, sir.
Regulations are there for a reason, right? And for us, it's non-negotiable. For us, the moment you start complying and it's part of your DNA, it now becomes, a daily thing. People would always think about, is this new facility um, able to cater to differently abled? Are these chairs high enough, right? Or
Yes,
or
sir.
enough to accommodate even those who are not gifted in height? You will be surprised. You will have employees, coming to you and saying that during interviews that how are the chairs
Mm-hmm.
structured in iQor, and these are some of the just obvious reasons that if people or if employers are genuine in inclusivity, be it differently abled or the different groups of our society, you can't really go wrong as an organization.
And how did you build this kind of culture, Attorney Wilbur, of really lessening discrimination in your company and really seeing them as equal and not having all these judgments, sir?
Respect. I think that's the key word, right? Our boss would always say that in this industry, you can have tough conversations and you can have tough decisions. But all of that must always be anchored in respect. For as long as you do not cross that line of rudeness and unprofessionalism, you should be
Yes,
okay.
sir.
And I mean, you just have to remind people that we are all here.
Mm-hmm.
We are not, we are all employees and we are all serving the same objectives, and that's to make the organization successful. And so there's no incentive in being rude. There's no
That's
incentive
correct,
in
sir.
disrespecting someone. It will not make you more successful, will not make
Mm-hmm.
you more popular. And so in everything that we do in the organization, it's always anchored on that very key component of our values, which is respect.
And Attorney Wilbur, to all our audience listening, a lot of college students listening where they don't know, they aren't sure yet of their path. What advice will you give them on how they can find themselves, find their own path, and be successful in their chosen field, Attorney Wilbur?
Passion. So find your passion first. Sometimes, and this is a reality, right? People would enter colleges not knowing what they want to do in the future. Sometimes their decisions of courses to take is driven by family suggestions. Sometimes,
Especially in the
you
provinces, sir.
know, the parents would tell you, "Oh, take this course," right? But I am not a graduate of psychology. I'm not a graduate of anything related to human resources. I'm a finance guy. So my
Mhm.
background really is finance. Later on, I took up law. But it didn't really stop me to see what is this HR all about. In
How
fact,
did you get into
it
HR,
was an
Attorney
accident,
Wilbur,
Marie
coming
Chris. You
from
will not
cancer?
believe it. It was an accident. As I've said earlier, I graduated in Japan. I'd like to think I still know Japanese, but at that time I know Japanese. There was an opportunity for someone who can speak Japanese, and the role was HR. And I said, I don't know HR, I know Japanese, and that was it. That was the
Wow,
role,
Attorney
right?
Wilbur.
Yeah. So again, going back to your question for our college students and young professionals, really
Yes,
just find what you're passionate about, because the rest will just follow. And of course, if you are a graduate of, is universities in the provinces, do not even start thinking of chasing the Metro Manila area, right? You start where you can maybe learn, you can contribute, and mind you, you also need to start thinking of where you can build a life. Right now, I mean, maybe I would like to think during our generation,
yes, sir.
medyo we were more concerned of how do I build my career. Right now, young professionals would always think, how many leaves do you get, or
Yes.
when can I take all of my leaves in one go? But that's not there's nothing wrong with it, right? It just shows that building life and establishing work-life balance is very important. So as young professionals, try to find a place where you think you can thrive and
So, sir,
not compromising life
yes,
quality.
when you did that HR experience in Japan, that's when you realize, HR was something very interesting and you want to take a part of, Attorney Wilbur?
Yeah, yes, it was a nice. I started being assigned in benefits administration, and I said, this could be fun. I mean, and then later on payroll, I said, not really far from finance.
Yes.
And then the rest, as I say, is just history: employee relations, labor compliance, audits, regulatory, etc. So I get to love HR, but I think more importantly, um, and I always tell this, right, to any newcomer in my team, whether in my current company or in my
Mm.
previous company. And I even remember my daughter once interviewed me of what my role is, right? And I always say HR is really an advocacy. And the advocacy really is creating jobs. So whether you are assigned as a payroll processor or a recruiter or an employee relations specialist, your job really is to create and sustain jobs. No one can deny you that, right? And you can always be proud that as an HR professional, you are there to actually create and sustain, maintain jobs for people. So that's very important. Yung palagi yung minabalikan ko na if people start thinking na napakahirap naman dito, napaka-stressful, this is a
Yeah.
thankless job, no one even remembers you, right? But again, if you see in my current organization, if I get reminded, I have 32,000 employees in the Philippines.
Wow.
That's something, right?
Yes, sir.
And being part of an organization that sustains livelihood and food on the table, roof over their heads, clothes to wear for 32,000
Thousand.
employees and their families. That's just wow and a great thing.
And a lot of our audience, sir, I'm sure wants to also take law. Maybe you can also share with them
Ah.
your journey on how first passing law
Well,
school and
I will
surviving
tell
law school, sir.
I will tell them this. Entering law school is like having a jealous mistress. So I am very blessed when I decided to enter law school. I've been in the role in the industry for 20 years when I decided, look, I want to enter law school. My wife, my kids were very supportive. You know, part of what we typically do as a family is travel. But when I entered law school, it just stopped completely. No travels for 4 years.
Wow.
And they understand because, it's very demanding. It takes a lot of discipline. Even for full-time law students, they find it very difficult. I was juggling three full-time roles. I was a full-time
Wow.
father. Well, four to be honest, right? I was a full-time father, full-time husband, full-time employee, and at the same time a full-time law student. So it takes a lot of discipline. And if you want to enter law school, you just need to be ready with just so much things to juggle in the next 4 to 5 years.
How did you survive all those four roles, Attorney Wilbur, for 4 years?
Support system is very important. I have a very accommodating employer. iQor really helped me a lot. My boss has been very supportive all the way to the president and CEO. In fact, I still remember when graduated and I passed the bar. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was announced on global platform in several meetings
Wow.
within the company, maybe at least four times. That's the support that they've shown me. And, I have a very supportive family. My wife has always been there to remind me that ginusto mo yan eh, right?
Yes.
So, um, see it through, right? So I think it's very important. My kids have been very supportive as well. I mean, you can just imagine if your kids would tell you, can we go there? Can we go to this place? And I will tell them, look, 2 more years, 3 more years,
Yes,
one
sir.
more year,
Do you
right?
believe, sir, that the most important decision that we will make in our lives is finding our life partner?
Oh, yes. Oh, definitely. I mean, while we cannot choose who our parents will be, and of course, I've been very blessed, right? Having been born to a family that is very supportive, God-fearing, and also loves, the country. But I've also been very blessed on meeting my wife, and having her supported me all these years.
Very lucky, Attorney Wilbur. You're very blessed, Attorney Wilbur.
I agree. Very, very blessed. And for that, I'm really very, very thankful.
And Attorney Wilbur, where would you want to see the Philippines in terms of human resource management in your field of HR and law? What do you think, are there laws still that you'd want to pass to ensure more inclusiveness for the Filipino workforce, sir?
I think we have a lot of laws, right? And to be honest, if those laws can just be executed properly and consistently, we should be in a good place. The challenge really is execution of laws. But many of our laws are very old. Our labor code alone is very old, right? And many of the recent developments in the industry, the type of work that we offer, maybe there's a need to revisit that and see that it is really attuned and responsive to the real needs of the workplace. And to the first part of your question, where do I see Philippines in the future? I think from an HR standpoint, we have started showing to the world that the Filipino workforce really is something that they cannot deny, to be one of the best. And so we already have quality jobs in the Philippines. And I'd like to think that with the right government support and with the right mindset of the private sector, we will eventually see a country where most of our neighbors will aspire to be like and would like to emulate. Right now, there are probably pockets of industries where we are really known and we're really good at. BPO is one of them, tech is another. And I'd like to see that in the countryside there are more types of work that must continue to evolve and transform, like agriculture. We cannot just also invest on high tech work, right?
Yes.
We must still go back to basics and see how we can support the grassroots.
Yes.
And I think investing in agriculture is one of the better things the government should invest in.
Attorney Wilbur, thank you so much for joining us, and we are with you in Countryside Development for any information you need about any province in the Philippines we covered that serve. Maraming salamat, Attorney Wilbur, for sharing your story. You're living proof that success doesn't have to be in skyscrapers and the traffic. It can also mean growth, balance, and making an impact right where you are. To our listeners, whether you're based in the city, or in the province, or somewhere in between, remember there's no path to building a life that matters. The key is making it yours. Again, I am Chris, and this is Work and Talk in PH, your go-to podcast for lifestyle insights, career convos, and real estate realness, where chill convos meet real-life lessons because it works.